Welcome to the Writer's Room. I'm Yvette Thompson, and I am going to talk about finishing your script in 2016. Not talking about it, not dreaming about it, finishing it, right? You've been talking about it ad nauseum for years. What a great idea you have for a script. If only somebody would give you a shot. Well, no one can give you a shot unless it's done. And the major issue I'm hearing from folks about getting their script done is not having enough money to do it, right? Because you need to take time off from work to be able to finish a script. That is the major complaint. And that's what I'm going to talk about in this video today. And I decided to do this 3-video series and this free class that's coming up. And these videos are to help you prepare for that class because I have clients who are brilliant, right? Who are burning out on day jobs that have nothing to do with them making art, okay? You do have to create time to make art, and you do have to have enough money or a job that gives you the flexibility, right, to have chunks of time off to write. And I believe that scripts get written in daily writing. They don't get written because, oh, you decide, okay, I'm gonna just write for this week, right? You can certainly get it done. But it's the act of writing that teaches you the process of writing text that's actually good story, right? And you only do that by doing it every day, which is why having the time to do it is important, even if it's just an hour, right? Once a day. That's more useful than once a week working for 4 hours, and here's why. Every time you come to the script and you've left it for 5 days, right? It takes you an hour for each of those days to catch up to where you were. So if you only write once a week, right, when you come back the next week, you're going to spend half the time remembering where you were last week. It's just intuitive. Stephen King writes about this in On Writing. It's important to write every day, even if it's 10 minutes, even if it's a half hour. Ideally, I say 90 minutes a day, right? Because that's when the brain shuts off after 90 minutes. Where are you going to find that time, right? Are you still auditioning? Do you still have a day job, right? There's so much going on. And deadlines, important deadlines, are creeping up on us. Sundance Theater Lab deadline is in a week or two, right? The Sundance Film Lab is in May. Those deadlines are creeping up, and you have no time to write. But it's 2016, and you drank some champagne and said, I'm finishing my damn script. All right. So 2016 is actually about getting to that moment where you're like, fuck all of this. I'm going to find a way to make it happen. And that's what these videos are about. Okay. And I'm going to suggest something totally radical that will free up your time. Now you can do the route that I've done. Whenever I wanted to write, I applied to a bunch of developmental labs and used that time, right? And in the interim, I did morning pages every morning to keep me in the flow of the story, right? If I knew I was going to New York Stage and Film for 2 weeks to workshop my play, well, I've been writing a little bit about the play in my 5 morning pages every morning all year long, right? So when I get to New York Stage and Film, since I've been writing a little bit about it every day, I know who the characters are, I know the plot points, guess what happens that first 2 days at the lab? I finish a draft. But that's only because I've been writing every day. Doesn't matter how much. So use the morning pages, right? It's 5 pages, 20 minutes, to keep you in the story if you have to miss a day. Okay? That's the first one. The second thing that changed my entire life were 2 things. Creating a business that allowed me to work from home and set my own hours, and then to automate most of the stuff in my business so that really the actual act of doing coaching or whatever is about 2 or 3 hours a day, right? Everything else, my scheduling, installment payments, all that jazz, all the business stuff, all the accounting, that's automated, right? I saved myself hours and hours and hours of time. I used to spend 10 hours a day in front of my computer trying to run my business. That's crazy. Or running to the studios and renting space and all of this jazz that's not a part of my life as a writer, actor, producer. I want to be producing stories, raising money for stories, writing stories, acting in stories, right? And all of that requires my concentration and time. And my rule is 90 minutes a day because the brain shuts off after 90 minutes a day. So the first thing was finding a job that gave me flexibility and that didn't leave me stressed, right? Anytime stress pops up, I look at my process, I reevaluate it and go, okay, we had some stress today. That can't happen again, because it throws you off your writer game. It throws you off the peace and the solitude that you've created in your life in order to write, right? So that's the first piece. The second piece, money. Now, when I wrote my play Good Bird Alley, I had done series of labs. You know, I'd gone to the Arch Center and done a 3-week residency. I'd done New York Stage and Film. I had done artist in residence at New York Theater Workshops, summer writer residency. I'd done labs, right? But really, I needed to workshop it and put it on its feet, right? I did a Kickstarter. And here's what I'm going to tell you, doing a Kickstarter is the best thing you could ever think of. I mean, Spike Lee did a Kickstarter, right? Because it accomplishes two things. A crowdfunding strategy, one, helps you create a list of supporters who, when your play is produced or your screenplay is produced and it's running on Netflix or it's opening in theaters in LA and New York, that same audience that gave you money for the Kickstarter are now loyal fans who are buying a ticket. And we all know that opening weekend of any show, any film, is critical to keeping it in theaters, right? This is what I learned as a producer on Blue Caprice. My day job, besides my own personal work, is that I'm director of development for Simon Says Entertainment. And we've made a bunch of films that have all gone to Sundance. We've produced a bunch of Broadway shows, and we have a Tony, right? We're just actors turned writer producers. We're storytellers, right? Who decided to take control of our lives and stop working for other people, right? So finding a way to work for yourself is critical. And what I learned on Blue Caprice is that having the time to develop a script from beginning to end, super, super important, right? Time to focus on it. Super, super important. A script having been submitted to Sundance and a bunch of other developmental labs, Tribeca, All Access, South by Southwest, Cannes, Toronto, Berlin, you name it, right? What submitting your script does is get your work in front of decision makers who can help you develop it, right? Here's the thing. All those scripts that Sundance can't take, they then email you back, but they liked you because they can only take, 7 projects per retreat, right? If they really liked you and you made the short list, they'll email you back and say, listen, can we share your script with so-and-so? Or they'll invite you to another lab. Many of Sundance's labs are invitation only. Only a couple are advertised. The rest come from their pool of applicants from the last year. A lot of folks don't know that, right? I submitted my first play, Liberty City, to Sundance. They loved it. They didn't have room for it. But they were like, oh, can we show it to other people? Right? And within a few weeks, I had an offer to produce it. I never even had to go to Sundance. Right? Because guess who reads the scripts at Sundance? Decision makers. Right? They have a director of the play development or screenplay development labs. But then they also bring on professional directors, writers, producers to mentor those writers and give feedback and help them in their process. All of those people who read your script that are on the selection committee, right? They're artistic directors, they're